Here we have my brother's 4-liter V8 twin turbo Audi S6 engine. Makes around 650 horsepower. And this is how my Audi 5.2 liter V10 engine looks at the moment. Boy, this Audi is looking so much better, especially with the whole front end all disassembled, the radiators, the condensers, that whole damaged area of the vehicle's all been removed. I've gone ahead and cleaned the engine, and boy, I'll tell you, there was a lot of grease and oil and dirt and just, it was horrible. But nonetheless, the engine is nice and clean, and now I can get to most of the engine. When you purchase a vehicle on an auction website, they don't tell you the condition of the engine. This is a problematic 5.2 liter V10 engine that came from Audi. Parts I'm going to be removing on this episode are things like the intake manifold, the spark plugs, the ignition coils, and hopefully the injectors. I'm not sure how far I can get on this episode, but stay tuned for that. So I want to rip apart this engine, as I don't know what kind of condition there was on the engine. Seeing by the front end with the radiator and the condenser and the zip ties, I'm a little concerned on how the condition of this engine is, but I won't know until I get into it. The first thing I'm going to tackle are removing the intake piping and possibly this intake upper part of the intake manifold. Now if I look at the air filters, that will give me a clear indication what kind of condition this engine is actually in. These hose clamps are all loose. Did Audi use these kind of hose clamps? I mean, this is something like you tie a water hose to. These are the clamps that were on the air duct, air hose. I don't know if this is an Audi part. There and there. Okay, let's see the condition of this air filter. The air filter was surprisingly in good shape. Wasn't full of dirt or debris. Doesn't look too bad. No, it doesn't look too bad at all. And it's an original yellow Audi air filter. I will be replacing them though with an aftermarket performance air filter later. Something doesn't seem right. This has got to be a hose pipe clamp. I don't know if this intake manifold has been removed before, because shouldn't have some kind of other different kind of clamp, but I'm not too sure. Here's another hose pipe clamp. Here's another one. Here's another one. Oh yay. Am I in for some trouble? Let's hope not. Is there electrical tape? Yes, it is. Somebody's been here before. Before I move any further, what I really need to do is remove the spark plugs from the engine. Because if I try to remove a spark plug and say it's seized in there, I need to be able to switch on the motor to remove that spark plug. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing spark plugs. Fingers crossed that nothing is seized, especially a spark plug. Whoa, that was really loose. Well, somebody has definitely been messing with this engine. This is somehow a Phillips, and there's a bolt or a screw missing from this one here. So someone has certainly messed with this. Okay, I've moved over to the passenger side. I created a lot more space, removed this reservoir, moved the air box further, and now I can get to the ignition coils. Uh-oh, it seems like there's oil in this one. There's oil in this one, which I do know that the gaskets for the valve cover is problematic, and I have purchased replacements, which I'm going to get this one replaced as well. Just checking. Woo-hoo-hoo. You can see the oil just dripping out off the ignition coil. If you can see how much oil was coming out of these ignition coils, that's quite a bit. That's not as bad. That's good. These wires are stupid, man. There we go. There we go. I can make my life a little bit easier. Yep, oil in that one too. So all 5 on the passenger side had oil in the spark plugs. The spark plug values that are touching the ignition coil. Okay, I'm going to get to the driver's side here in a second. I want to see if I can remove the spark plugs easily. Ho ho ho! Now my tool is stuck in there. Is this a sign of things to come? My socket is stuck in the plug. Like that. Okay, got it out. Yes! Those are tight in there. That's not good. Oh, come on. The proper method of loosening spark plugs, if they get a little bit stuck, is start up the engine for 2 to 5 minutes, warm the engine up, and then everything is going to expand, and then you'll be able to get the spark plugs out of the holes. As you can see, I've taken quite a bit off of the engine already. To put it back on is going to be a bit of a pain. I'm going to go with my quick little method, and I'm hoping it's going to work. So I'll just put there, and I get a little rubber mallet, and I'm just going to give it a little light taps. Okay, I come to realize this spark plug over here wasn't even tight. I just used my one hand and it broke free. That's not good. I'm losing compression out of that piston. But nonetheless, all 5 spark plugs on the passenger side are loose. Now I'm going to leave the spark plugs in the holes because I am going to be replacing them further down. But I don't want any dirt or debris getting into the piston. Now I get to do the driver's side. It doesn't look as bad as the passenger side. Oh. Yep. Valve cover gasket is leaking. Whoa, that one was loose. Okay, that one was good. Oh, that one was real tight. And that one wasn't that tight. But the good news is we are able to get all 10 spark plugs out of this engine. Ah, that's a success. Hey, there you go. You naughty little son of a gun. Hope this gasket is okay. It doesn't look like in the best shape, but it's a reusable gasket. If anything, I'll just get a brand new one anyway. I know you can't see much at the moment, but deep inside here, there are plastic flaps. So at certain RPMs and certain temperatures, these motors over here and over here operate the flaps. Now what can sometimes happen inside these, especially these intake manifolds, is the flaps can break. They're made out of plastic, and therefore I need to buy a whole brand new one. Let's hope that's not the case with this intake manifold. I don't want to go spend a lot of money on this car, because one of these intake manifolds brand new can cost up to $5,000. Matrix, how's the water? Is it wet? Like a giant crocodile with hair. A lot of hair. Good little swimmies, Baba? Good little swimmies, Baba? Huh? Nice and wet. Nice and cool. Who's a cool dog? You're the coolest dog of them all. Now with the throttle body removed from the intake manifold, I'm now going to remove these high pressure fuel pumps. And the first thing I'm going to do is remove the high pressure and low pressure fuel lines, because they run all throughout this intake manifold, and to remove this intake manifold you got to remove those lines. It's going to explode. There's the high side disconnected. Now I believe I'm going to do it to the low side. I don't think so, to be honest, because this line over here runs over the intake manifold, and these lines over here also run over the intake manifold. So it actually blocks the back of the intake manifold for actually lifting up. So I believe I'm just going to remove these two. Let me give that a go. If anything, I can always remove the low pressure side on the driver's side. Now the fuel lines disconnected from the pumps, I'm now going to be removing the lines from the head. Now if you ask yourself, why am I using like normal tools instead of power tools? The reason being is because I don't know how long these nuts or bolts have been on this engine, what the condition is. So if I use like a power tool, for instance, like a drill or an impact, it may damage or break the bolt in the threads. So what I'm doing is I'm using my hand tools, so I can just break them loose, and then if I really wanted to, I could go get my power tools and extract the tool out. And I'll do the exact same thing when I put the nuts and bolts back on. I'm going to put them by finger first, then I can use power tools, because I don't want to strip the threads or break the bolt or anything like that, especially on this engine. Now you see, if I use a power tool, I believe it actually would have stripped out this torque split. But with me using hand tools, I have a better feel, a copper feel. Now this is my favorite part. Now I get to unplug all these plugs and remove all these vacuum lines from the top of this intake manifold, so I can get this intake manifold out. This should be the last clip. Ooh, what a mess. Some of these plugs, these connectors were already broken. This one, thankfully they're color coded. But yeah, most of these plug clip things, like for instance here, they are damaged, missing, or broken. So somebody has been to this section before and didn't know what the hell I was doing. Not me, don't get me wrong, it was somebody else, the previous owner, or the previous owner. Now with everything I believe to be disconnected, I'm not too sure about the sensor here. I'm not sure about that one, but once you start removing the intake manifold, then that will either give me an issue or whatever like that. But now I'm going to be removing these torque bits here. But first, let me remove most of the effing debris that's in this engine bay. Leaves, because I don't want it to fall into the intake runners or cause any other issues. But everything else, especially in the back, has been disconnected. Throttle bodies removed, fuel pumps have been disconnected. So I believe we are moving in the right direction. Just a man playing on his tractor, mowing some grass. Woohoo! Get it, son! I'm just removing the bolts that hold the intake manifold to the engine. And there are quite a few. What's kind of weird is that I don't believe I'm going to need to reuse these bolts. And I'll show you why further down in the series. Okay, yep, I did need to remove this line. And I believe this is the low pressure line. I have a rag here to catch whatever fuel drips out of the line. Oh geez, I forgot this stupid bolt. I did loosen it but not remove it. Boy, this intake manifold has been a pain in the butt, but let's see if I got it. Let go! What is it now, damn it? Hey, you will listen to cuss words, hey? Let go, let go. Thank you. Oh, there's one intake manifold. Oh, ho, ho. That is disgusting. Oh my goodness gracious. Holy shit. I know that these 5.2 litre V10 engines have problems with leaking, clearly, but I did not know it was this bad. Oh wow. So it leaks over here as well as over there with those O-rings. This is a gasket. Thankfully I bought replacements, but oh my goodness. One thing I am concerned about are the inlet and exhaust valves. Those can get caked up with so much carbon. And can you even see that is a black pit? Oh boy. I believe these have never been cleaned, carbon cleaned. Whoo, every single one. It's just pure black. You can't even see the valves at all. Oh boy. Woo. What I honestly think is the previous owner or owners wanted to do a carbon clean. They possibly knew about the issue and also the oil leaks, but yet they couldn't get to where I got to right now, because I don't believe those ever been done in 138,000 miles. The aroma of fuel and carbon is actually intoxicating. Like, I'm getting high just standing. I mean, this is number one. I don't know if you can zoom in properly. Look at the amount of build-up there is on that. I doubt that these are even been done in 138,000 miles, because normally you got to do these every 40 or 50,000 miles. And this oil over here looks like it's been here for a minute. This isn't new or fresh. Now what I'm going to do is remove the fuel rail to try and get to the injectors, because I'm sure those injectors are not in good condition, which I got replacements for them anyway. So let me go ahead and do that. First thing I'm going to do is loosen the injector fuel rail from that banjo bolt. I am in serious trouble with these injector plugs. I just touch them and they're just completely shattered. I mean, I don't know if it's from the heat, but they're just breaking apart in my hand. That one I still got to get off, but the clips are just, I don't know what to say. That one's perfectly fine. This is how it should be, not like that. But as soon as I grabbed it and pulled it, it just cracked and shattered. Some pieces over here, whatever. And then this one, just bam. Ay, ay, ay. Hopefully I can get some replacement plugs, clips or something. Seems like it's a 2-wire kind of job. So all I can do is just cut it, splice a new one on there, and bing bang boom. Boy, this fire is rolling. Woo! What I smell? Barbecue. For some reason, I have a feeling at the end of this episode, I'm gonna smell like bug spray, sweat, gasoline, and oil. That sounds like a sexy combination, like some kind of mechanic cologne. This is a bit of a pain in the butt, I'm not gonna lie. I started cleaning the intake ports. The first intake port that I did, I cleaned it with a little bit of brake parts cleaner. Job came out okay, it's not 100%. The second port that I started cleaning, I used something I purchased on Amazon. It's called CRC intake cleaner or valve cleaner, something like that. The job came okay. I mean, this vehicle, honestly, to me, it doesn't look like it's ever been cleaned in the 138,000 miles that it's been driven. There's a lot of carbon buildup, a lot of debris in there. I'm using a wool brush to get around the intake valves, clean it as best as I can. I might have to get a walnut blaster which will clean it a lot better than the chemicals. But I'm doing the absolute best. This isn't a 5 or 10 minute job. This is going to take me hours to do. But I'm up for the job. I've got my nice safety goggles, my gloves, and Matrix is taking a nap, of course. Now I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning all the intake ports. I'm going to show you what I do. And I think I may run out of rags. But these two ports look okay, they're not to my liking, so I might have to go get another kind of tool. But this is the port that we're going to be working on. For this one, I'm going to be using brake parts cleaner. So I'm just going to be spraying a little bit inside. Before I do that, I need to make sure that the intake valves are closed. So when I spray stuff, it doesn't go into the piston and damage the piston and so on and so forth. So now this one is closed, 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 open. So when I get to this port, I'm going to rotate the engine so that the intake valves become closed and I'll be able to clean those ones. But this is the one that we're going to be working on. I'm just going to spray a little bit inside. Yeah. Tastes delicious. I'm just going to let it sit for about 5-10 minutes while it breaks the carbon up. And it looks like it's starting to break it up already. Good. Now you can do the same process with the stuff that I purchased, the CRC. I found the brake and parts cleaner work the best, especially with the results I'm getting. That's why I'm using brake and parts cleaner, not the CRC. It does work, but not as good as that brake parts cleaner. Now I'm just going to take my time and make sure I get a nice, good, clean job. Just scrubbing it up and down, left and right. I'm not going to damage the valves, but I am concerned about the valve seats. But they seem like they are embedded in the cylinder head. And this I got to do every 40 or 50,000 miles. Yay! Fantastic! I'm also using a plastic wool brush because there are kits that have like metal or copper brushes. I'm just concerned about the intake valves and the valve stems that's going to get damaged, especially with the amount of vigorous work that you've got to do. Well, sorry, I've got to do to get these intake ports nice and clean. I'll take my air gun and a rag, towel, put it over the hole and spray. So this is my first pass and came out okay. You can still see there's a lot of carbon inside the port. If I can keep the light on there. So I'm going to repeat the steps another 3 more times and see how it looks, or I'm just going to spend the money and buy a walnut blaster, which should do the job a lot quicker. It's not wasting money, it's more like an investment because I can always use the walnut blaster for other things. Just want to show, I did go ahead and clean these ports on the driver's side, and you can still see how much carbon buildup there is, even after chemical clean. This one's starting to get a little bit cleaner right there. I mean, I can see the top of the valve. Hopefully you guys can see how much carbon buildup is still on top of the valves, and that's after a chemical clean, and even around the port. But nonetheless, I do have the tools on order. One thing I do want to check is this intake manifold plenum. It's where the air gets flowed into the valves and all that kind of stuff. So this is the underneath of it. I flipped it underneath so I can see the flaps on the intake manifold. There are plastic flaps that are inside this intake manifold, and sometimes what can happen is they can break due to the heat or age or how hard you actually run in the engine. And you can see with these little ports here, they actually open and close depending on your RPM, also your temperature. If you guys have heard of the Audi R8, it uses the same 5.2 liter V10 engine. So if you hear that with a great exhaust system, just screaming at, I believe, 8,000 RPM, I could be wrong, that is the same engine inside here. But on my Audi, the engine is front mounted. So it sits in the front of the car, where the Audi is rear mounted. The engine sits in the rear. But I want to make sure that these flaps are working. Right now, they're in the position where when you start the vehicle, it allows a little bit of air to flow for idle. And then when you rev it, the flaps actually will open up a little bit more, allowing more fuel, well, not fuel, more air into the combustion chamber. So I'm just making sure that these are operational. So this is how the V10 will sound. It will be rum, 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 rum. Of course, these flaps open much more. Right now, the solenoids are holding them in place, but I'm happy to see that all of them are operational. All 5 of them on the one side, and all of them are working on the other side, so that's good. This intake manifold can cost between $4,000 and $5,000, where I only paid $1,500 for my Audi, the whole thing, engine and everything. So yeah, if this went bad, that is a lot of money just to get an intake manifold replaced. So these are the intake flaps here. They're made out of plastic, which operate those metal flaps underneath. And they look perfectly fine. There's no damage to them. I like the way they look. There's no rattling, there's no shaking, and all of those butterflies and flaps are controlled by these sensors and motors right here. So the ECU receives a message from your right pedal or loud pedal, and then will open and close the flaps accordingly. So when you open up the V10 engine, you get that unmistakable V10 sound. That Matrix, what are you doing, my baba? Are you just spending time with your biggest fan? Is that your biggest fan? Oh, can I get a belly rub? Oh, look at the belly. Oh, look at the belly rubs. Oh, the big boy belly rub. Oh, you're so wet. And you smell like wet dog. Hey? Oh. Once again, I would have to say that is a very successful episode. We have got a lot of the V10 engine all disassembled, which is very, very important. I'm happy to see that. If you guys watch the video, you'll notice that I still have the injector still in the engine. The reason being is because this engine is direct injected. What that really means, you get two kinds of engines. You get direct injection and you get port injection. Now this engine happens to be direct injection, so the injectors are actually facing into the combustion chamber. So you got the combustion chamber, and then your injector sits right there, and then you send the head with the valves sit right on top. So when it sprays fuel, it gets directly into the combustion chamber. It's a bit more performance, but it's more of a pain in the butt, especially over years and many miles. It starts getting the carbon clean, as I'm trying to clean at the moment. Whereby port injection, the injector is actually in the intake manifold and it sprays over the inlet valves. And what that does is it kind of cleans the valves while it's spraying your fuel into the combustion chamber, which that's what most vehicles I believe do today. But with high performance engines, they use direct injection. It's a bit more powerful, a bit more responsive. It is a bit of a pain in the butt when starting the vehicle and it's at idle, because you need to let the engine warm up first, especially when the cylinder is a little bit cold. What I'm really trying to say is if I remove the injectors, there will be a hole that leads directly into the combustion chamber. So I left the injectors in so that there's no dirt or debris that can fall in the combustion chamber and cause any damage. So I still have quite a bit of work to do on this engine. I'm going to clean it up. I'm not going to use any more chemicals. I kind of feel a little bit itchy. Ooh, I smell kind of sexy. I believe that is fuel, oil, grease and bug spray. Although it could also be some firewood, but smells sexy nonetheless. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I've ordered the stuff to worn out blast the inside of the valves. I'm not going to use any more chemicals. The chemicals did do an amazing job, I would have to say. But sadly with this engine, I believe that they never even did any kind of cleaning, carbon cleaning or any kind of cleaning clearly on the engine for 138,000 miles. If the vehicle had its normal maintenance, like every 40 to 50,000 miles, where they cleaned the intakes and did the ports and all that kind of stuff, the chemicals would be perfect. They would work fantastic. But I've got to go a little bit more deeper. I've got the walnut sand blasting, and also I've got some kind of coupler which fits over the ports. I've got a vacuum attached, and I can get to those hard to reach places and get all, I hope all, of the carbon off of those intake valves. But that's going to be a fingers crossed kind of moment, to be honest. But nonetheless, we have a lot accomplished. On the next episode, we are going to be trying to put everything back on the engine and start it up again for the first time. Well, not the first time. First time since the car's been rebuilt. Not fully, but first startup since I've cleaned the engine. So that's going to be on the next episode. So if you guys enjoyed this video, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, Hit that notification bell when I release new videos on this Audi and other crash damage builds. Also subscribe to my channel if you guys learned something new about tools or cleaning or Audi. This has been a big learning experience for me. I'm happy that I've actually purchased this vehicle, although it was a mistake. I'm glad to learn something new every single day, no matter what it is, either on vehicles or in life in general. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Take care. Woo! Those chemicals, boy! Run! 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 Run!